and costs related to delayed construction projects, which, according to certain claims made by GUP, totaled around 21.8 million. And after some review, back and forth negotiations, which the record extensively shows, GPA then determined that a reasonable cost of about $6,559,000 was is appropriately due to GUP. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, the parties agreed that as a result of Typhoon Mawar's destruction last year, the new power plant sustained some significant damage, which resulted in a new proposed commercial operation date. And so the parties have amended this date, or proposed to amend this date to September 30th, 2025. And so another amendment tied to that, Mr. Chairman, in addition, there's also an amendment to the treatment, I guess, of the GPA to compensate GP in the amount of 2.7 million, and to the new phosphate. And GPA is as well as the system and now with respect related to the initially, I believe EPA so this increase GPA made the determination that this increase was $0.76 million. And as I stated earlier, through heavy back and forth and negotiations between GUP and GPA, they reduced that number to about 6.5 million, which GPA is now willing to compensate GUP for this.
It's connecting to my.
So as part of the change in the commercial operation date, GPA has agreed to compensate GUP $4 million if GUP accelerates in its completion of the power plant by September 30, 2025. And if GUP completes the power plant earlier by September 15, 2025, GPA has agreed to add an additional $1 million on top of the $4 million. So if the power plant is completed and ready to be commissioned prior to September 15th, then GPA has agreed to compensate GUP $5 million. And this is part of an incentive to encourage GUP to expedite its construction of the new power plant. Otherwise, the parties have agreed to impose liquidated damages immediately of $240,000 per day beyond the September 30, 2025 deadline. And according to GPA, any acceleration fees, again, will be covered by an adjustment to the fixed capacity charge, which they've indicated on Schedule 4 as a performance incentive. And so with respect to the provisions regarding the delivery of fuel during the startup, testing, and commissioning, as I mentioned earlier, the parties have agreed that GPA will pay for the cost of the first fill of diesel fuel in amount equal to fuel necessary that can operate the plant for at least 30 days. And so this modification will require that GUP reimburse GPA for the cost of this first fill, now without markup or interest, in equal monthly installments during the first 7 years of operation, by GUP making payments to GPA directly or by deducting the monthly installment amount from invoices issued to GPA. And GPA has submitted that this provision and this amendment to the first fill requirement is meant to further support GUP's efforts to accelerate, again, the completion of the new Ukudu power plant. And GPA has also indicated in their documents, Mr. Chairman, that the acceleration of the operations of the new Ukudu power plant by 4 months will not only provide reliable power to the ratepayers sooner, but it will also provide a net fuel savings of approximately $13.7 million. And so, Mr. Chairman, the PUC's work on this contract and on this new power plant has obviously been extensive and significant. And it is clear that the PUC has supported the commissioning of the new Ukudu power plant and that its support of this endeavor has never wavered. Due to some setbacks, however, which were noted in the record, and obviously most significantly the effects of Typhoon Mawar on the plant site last year, certain amendments had to be made to the ECA, and that the record that was provided to me showed to me that the parties definitely negotiated in good faith in settling certain differences, and it's shown by decreasing the claims that GP initially made from about $21 million to about 6.5. And so that showed to me that that the parties have really negotiated in good faith and made efforts to sort of reduce whatever additional costs that GPA might have to sustain. And GPA has also been consistent in its position that the earlier this power plant comes online, the sooner the ratepayers will start reaping the benefits of a more reliable and more affordable energy. And as indicated in the ALJ report, the impact of these additional costs are reflected in the proposed amendment Schedule 4, which I think I've attached to the ALJ report, and it's just an excerpt of Schedule 4. And if you look at Schedule 4, it shows generally a decrease of the fixed capacity charge of about 4.348%, which I'm informed reflects the reduction of the fixed capacity charge due to the elimination of the reserve facility. And then the other additional costs, they're indicated as supplemental charges. On page 5, for instance, the phosphate removal system will be an additional 0.09 cents per kilowatt hour per month. And then the backup potable water line is about 0.0639 cents per kilowatt per month. And then the performance incentive pays are also indicated in this supplemental charge schedule. And of course, it depends on whether GP gets the power plant online by September 15th or September 30th. And if they do it before September 15th, then obviously GP will get the additional $1 million. And so based on this record, Mr. Chairman, I recommended that the PUC approve the petition that GPA filed as is, which would approve the proposed amendments to the ECA as well as to any of the corresponding documents attached to the ECA, such as the schedules. And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. EPA, any comments?
Sorry, can you hear me now? So, yes, this is a very important amendment for the ECA. We've been discussing with GUP after they were able to get a hold of the destruction that they had and have a recovery plan after Typhoon Marwar. And, you know, as well, GPA has been having to deal with reliability issues, and thank you for the temporary power. We've been managing to stave off most of the load shedding through the past months. But this is also a consent decree issue, and the sooner that we can get the plan online, we can decommission Cabarrus 1 and 2, and we would be compliant at least with one of the major items, and Cabarrus was actually the main item. The retirement of it was the main item for the consent decree. So, you know, all the negotiations that we have done with GUP was subject to CCU and PUC approvals. And so right now, everybody is hoping that we can get this approval so that they can be, we could look forward to a September 2025 commissioning date. The plant right now has been progressing. They've done a lot of work to recover from the typhoon damages. The tanks have been put up from when they were totally demolished. There's still some work to do, and we are expecting to start commissioning activities in the first quarter of next year. Everything that ALJ Contra said, yes, GPA has really tried to control the claims that they have brought to us, but there were some claims that we thought were reasonable. Costs they incurred for the efforts for the reserve facility before we got to the point of the failed legislation for the rezoning. So all the costs incurred up to that point, we felt they deserved to get paid, so that was a reduction. We did incur, or GUP did incur some required permitting requirements, such as paving most of the facility, which was not anticipated, but was required as a matter of the construction permit. And again, the change in the GWA outfall discharge permitting required us to have additional costs. So we feel like this was reasonable, and that, you know, we hope that we can get your approval tonight. Thank you.
What I would like, I do agree that, you know, given everything, that the cost appears to be reasonable. What I don't have is a number, the grand total. We're going to do this year, we're going to subtract this year, and separate from the incentive, which I understand, you know, that's 4 million plus 1 million. So what I would like to see somewhere in the order is a recap of the total cost that will be paid. Because when I read this, we're talking 2.7 million for construction costs, plus 100,000 annually. Then, you know, separate from the incentive, then we have 6.5 million for additional costs. Then we have it was agreed that instead of GPA paying for the first bill, Group will now pay that. And while I understand that market price is, will determine what that cost will be, what is the approximate market price, because that tends to be now the right of reduction.
So that cost will actually be recovered over a 7-year period. We're basically trying to assist them with cash flow, and then it's not a free, it's just, we will recover that over 7 years.
So who ultimately is going to pay for the first bill? Is it GPA?
GPA.
Huh?
GPA, in the contract, UKUDU is supposed to, or Guam UKUDU Power. And what we negotiated was because of the typhoon and the impact they had on cash flow and get everything back on track, there was a discussion of us waiving it, and we said, no, we can't do that. But we could offer to pay it upfront for you, and you pay it back over time.
Okay, so
this could be around $15 million for a 30-day supply, and then over 7 years, they're paying it back.
okay. So it's really not an incentive, it's not a change, it's just the payment is a change.
It's an incentive for them to just be able to have cash flow, but we will recover that cost. It's not
So
given to them.
GPA is going to pay for the first bill?
Yes. Technically,
And who pays for subsequent?
GPA, so we actually take care of all the fuel. We actually provide the testing and we have the contracts for the dock and the pipelines and everything. So it just makes sense that GPA will handle all the logistics, and it's just in the contract, we said the first bill would be UKUDU's requirement. And it still will be, but it's just over a term that they will pay that cost down.
Okay, so that, okay, see, I read that wrong, okay. Just to make sure I understand. See, that's what I want to know is what is the total cost of all the incentives? Because we got a little bit here for this, a little bit there for that, 6 million here. What is the grand total?
It's about $11 million in the total cost.
Separate from the fuel.
Separate from the fuel.
We're saving almost 14 million.
And the projected savings for the 4 months, which January 26th was what Doosan, their EPC contractor, was proposing. And we're saying between September and January, a saving because of their fuel efficiencies and the cost difference between the ultra-low RFO that Cabris is burning, we would save about $13 million.
But again, you see where I'm coming from? I just don't know what the total package of incentives is going to amount to. That's really all I'm asking for, is a recap of the A, B, C, D, the grand total of whatever that total. But you're saying that the incentives amount to about 11 million?
Yes.
Separate from the fuel.
So the cost is about 11 million for the contract amendments, and then it's 5 million on top of that. So it's,
yeah, well, the 5 million I understand, because that's an incentive. So we're talking 11 million
for the cost of
what this costs.
the
What you're
additional
asking
costs.
for.
Yes,
Yes.
so for the
11 million
phosphate
for this.
removal, the reserve facility costs up to date, the backup cooling, those are about it.
But 100,000 is going to be
So
paid
that's not-
annually for ad infinitum, right?
100,000 is part of, so we have to build a facility to manage the phosphate treatment, but outside of the capital structure, there's chemicals and labor associated with that. So annually, we have to pay about $100,000 to operate that equipment. So it's not just the building and the equipment,
Yes.
it's the labor and the materials to support that operation.
And then, And then going back to the first bill, maybe just a guesstimate of what the cost will be so that, and the monthly payment would be approximately X. I'm not going to hold you, because I understand until do the final cost, but just to know how much will be deducted for the next 7 years, right? Yeah. So that's all I'm looking for in the order. So that it's just a recap someplace rather than here in A, B, and here, and then you add it all up to figure out what was the total incentive.
Advantages of doing this is we don't know. In the ballpark of getting something up and running that we can really rely on in the future.
Is that doable? Are they really going to do this? What is your probability of them meeting that day?
If they don't.
I believe they are working towards this, because their lenders, everybody's, needing to get it done, get it out, start recovering on their revenue. The project right now is showing good progress, and we are looking at completing the field lines. They are looking soon, and they are actually looking to start receiving fuel around October. So that's lining up everything. The turbines are in place, the building sidings are going up. There's still a lot of work to be done, piping, electrical, instrumentation, but we feel like they're on track to be meeting that schedule.
So we're talking really, all things being considered, we're talking about $11 million plus $5 million more, or a total of 60. I know the 5 is contingent, but the probability is what, 95%, 90%, 80%?
I feel like they're on track. So
what? Give me a
probability. I say 99%.
Well, that's even better to know because I wasn't going to go that high.
The liquidated damages are $250,000 a day, so they have quite an incentive. Jen, it's I think I've heard in the past from John or someone else is that some of the generators might be up and running by early next year. You probably won't have the full complement operating, but you'll have some of it moving forward.
So commissioning activities is anticipated around February, March.
Yeah.
So you'll actually start testing those units.
We have a rolling full start over the course of from the beginning towards the end of next year.
So I don't know that they would be accumulating that megawatt output. I think they'll do a unit at a time. And then once all 3 are done, then they will do the steam turbine with all of those units run, and then you see that later towards July, August.
Going back to my query, if I may. So what in effect we are, what the commission is proving is $11 million in reimbursable costs and $5 million in incentive costs for a potential of $16 million. So how is that $16 million going to be paid for it? Does that add just to the additional cost of construction of Lupido?
So there is a charge in this contract. It's called a fixed capacity fee. And regardless of their operation, as long as they're capable of outputting 198 megawatts, there is a rate that we have to pay them. It's kind of like your mortgage. And so the rate was reduced to address the cancellation of the reserve facility. And then we add back all these additional costs, Schedule 4, as mentioned, that were identified as adjustments to the rate. So basically, we take the rate as adjusted for the cancellation, and then we add these additional rates to it. and that now is your monthly payment to Ukudu.
And that is
And
how we pay for that $16 million.
Yes. So it's financed over time versus a one-time payment.
I didn't know from this reading that it was $16 million. I knew 5 million and I knew 6, but I didn't know. Up to 2.
Yeah, hey, so Jeff, on the fixed capacity charge, is that, it's listed as 16 point something dollars per kilowatt
Per month.
per month. So that we pay that
We have to pay that monthly.
$16.
Yeah, so
or
it's
whatever
16,
whatever
yeah.
the output, whatever
So-
output we use, right?
It's not output, sir, it's the capacity of the plant. So the capacity is 198 megawatts, which is 198,000 kilowatts.
Right.
So regardless of whether we're dispatching them or not,
We gotta pay that.
once we commission the plant, they're available. We've demonstrated, or they've demonstrated their capacity, then we start to pay them. And that's how we've done it for our previous,
Whether we use it or not, so we pay for it.
yes. So it's to our best interest to.
Does this fixed capacity charge impact the LEAC or anyone?
This would be coming out of this wouldn't be a LEAC cost.
This would be something different.
Yes.
Base rate.
This should be part of
Joey
the.
said he was going to raise the base rate. Thomas said.
Right, it's already factored in.
He promised that, remember, as far as
Joey.
Joey Duenas,
Whatever it is.
but I'm holding to it.
So over time, with the 7 years, right, when you do the first fill, that's the fuel that they're going to be paying back over time.
Yes.
Okay. And so the additional costs, the 11 million, that's something that we would have to pay for as a result of the change of the law, what they've already spent on the reserve facility, and not cancellation, right, of the reserve facility.
And that would be over the 25-year term.
The 25-year term.
Yeah.
Okay, I noticed in one of the attachments we had here, Dan, where Calvin, Fisher, and Jacob, oh no, it's Ryan, remember? Had talked, and they were talking about the $611 million plus loan amount, and they said 61 million of that was for the reserve facility. Is that the total cost that was borrowed in order to build this
Yeah.
facility?
Probably their borrowed costs,
Their borrowed costs. Do you have any anticipation at the end, what we're looking at, probably by next year, what our total cost is going to be over the expansion of 25 years with the project? Do we have any estimate of that? I don't know, John, if you have an estimate of that. For this project. And so with this, and let me tell you what I'm asking is, with what was already borrowed, you're asking us to pay an additional 11 million, with the evidence presented that it is very reasonable, correct?
It would
On
be,
top of,
so because of the reduction of the reserve facility,
right,
it would not be an increased overall contract, there would still be a little bit of a savings.
okay, okay.
It's the reduction from the reserve facility is larger than the cost that we're allowing for.
Okay. And so then we're also looking at, as a result of the efficiency of our new plant, that the LEAC, we're hoping to
Yes,
see that
yes.
decreases as fuel doesn't increase, right, as a result of global events. Correct?
So spend the savings now, get a part of our price.
And, yes, okay, and the testing period will start February, you're saying about?
February, March is what
February, March.
we're hearing.
Okay, and then penalties don't be incurred unless the power capacity is not maintained, is not reliable.
So so as far as commissioning, if they, we have this agreement and we agreed to September 30, if they don't commission by September 30, they don't get any of the incentives for acceleration, and they start getting a $240,000 a day liquidated damages.
Okay.
So that was actually part of the original contract. There was an LD as part of the COD delays.
Started in January though.
And there we kind of had a reduced LD, and then it hit the $240,000 a day. But that LD was originally part of the original contract.
Don, do you have something to share with us?
Yes, the total fixed, after all the adjustments based on this, the total fixed coverage charge after 25 years is about $1.26 billion.
Billion? With a B?
6 billion.
Yes.
Over a 25-year period.
That includes interest.
That includes interest plus all the CapEx that they have to incur to keep the access running.
And everything remaining constant.
I'm sorry?
Everything remaining constant, there were still some fluctuation as a result of fuel cost and.
Oh yeah, this is just for the maintenance of the power plant, and they have to maintain at 198 megawatts. Yes, there is some clause for if they don't maintain it, there's a penalty I believe for.
Is that still the 240 from the original contract? No, they don't. No.
That is only for the commissioning delay, but there are some performance incentives in the contract for availability, efficiency, things like that.
Yeah, okay.
John, you have the estimated sales over the 25 years. That's 1.2 billion. I'm assuming it'd be like 10 billion sales in revenue.
Oh, he's looking for the total revenue sales.
I mean, we're doing 1.2 billion over 25 years.
Yes.
What's the total revenue over 25 years for GPA? Estimated at?
I haven't done that calculation. Yeah, that will really depends on the capacity, how much capacity will be running then.
What's the capacity now of what we have running? Of our plants now and our,
we do have a unit that's down, but if we had that unit up, including the temporary power, we're about 315 megawatt capacity. 315? We are still trying to do some maintenance on some of our units, but as of today, with the JIGO CT, which is currently down for maintenance, we're about 315 megawatts.
As that peak demand?
So our peak, so far this year has been 252. So we were able to get the 20 megawatts temporary power last week.
Are you still supplemented with the hotels and people with generators?
We do that as needed, and we've had incidences where we've had a couple of units all down at the same time. But majority of the time we've been working with Navy. We've actually been using our battery that was supporting the Denton facility. We've been shifting that, so we're able to use that at night. So that's also providing capacity reserve for us.
Nice to hear those batteries are coming in kind of handy over there.
Yeah.
I think we might anticipate in the future with the new power plant, your revenues might actually go down a bit. There's less fuel.
Yes.
You don't anticipate that, right, John? Is that a fair assumption?
Yes, the new power plant is a lot more efficient than the current power plant we're deploying.
Yeah.
We're expecting for the REACT to drop, but, so,
Been up around 400 million a year or so, something in that ballpark, maybe a little less.
yes, we were projecting, previously, I think we were projecting, 40 cents, 45 cents from the current rate. That savings in the REACT.
And as the new solar plants come in over the next 2-3 years, that'll probably further reduce fuel.
Yes, the fuel costs will definitely go down. However, the prices that came in, I believe they're close to regular 17 cents. But once we convert to, when Zukudu come along based on the current price, I think the REACT might drop to 15 or 16 cents around that. Compared to 26 cents right now, it's about 16 cents.
Yeah.
It's huge, maybe the savings.
That'd be great.
I remember when we were looking at 8 or 9 cents.
REACT?
Yeah, for the LEAC.
Oh, yeah, that was during COVID.
Same power plant, we're gonna go to 10 cents LEAC.
Yes, at that time, there was that was like when during the COVID, the price was really low.
Right.
The diesel price was really low.
Yeah. Got a little too excited, maybe.
Yes, and at the same time, we were thinking phase 3. The assumption was that when we got the capital, regular solar was 8.5 cents, we get something very similar. And we also had the phase 3 when we had the new solar cells with the batteries at 11 cents. So that was the benchmark we were using.
Right.
Yeah, but that went away, and due to US emphasizing more subsidy on the batteries and vehicles, so the lithium battery price skyrocketed. It's significantly reduced right now, going back to the normal price of the lithium. I think they call it lithium salt. Price has significantly dropped, but the production cost, I believe, is still high.
Further on this issue?
After the commission of the Yukudu plant and decommissioning of Cabarrus 1 and 2, what will be the next big ticket item for the consent decree?
So the Yukudu plant is like the main thing left in the consent decree. I think we're going to have to do a motion to amend it because we haven't met the deadlines, but we did make a force majeure claim, and I believe it's going to be well received. Just based on photos alone, I think we have a good claim there, and so far the US government hasn't said anything, but we think they're going to accept it, and so that's why we think the consent decree will be amended, and we have Hanwha, which came through 41 megawatts from there. And once the Yukudu plant is open, we'll be able to retire Cabarrus 1 and 2 requirements under the consent decree. So I think we're gonna meet what we're supposed to. We're on track.
Anything else? Is there a motion?
Spend 11 million to say 30. We'll go to
16, 7 million plus 5 million. Yeah, she said she's 99% sure it's gonna happen.
yes, the 5 million is gonna spend. The 11 is
It's a
for all the
reimbursement.
deals of reimbursement. Let's take it reimbursement. That's interest free,
Oh,
7 years.
oh.
Let's see.
Before we go to the motion, Joseph just reminded me, my request is to recap all these costs in the order. Summary.
Sure.
You okay with that? Okay, that's all. Then we vote on
So that, it doesn't make it motion, we'll take this.
I move that the order has a summary recap of the total cost to include the incentive.
And other than that, approval of the order as written?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, second. Joe seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Okay. All right. Next item. CPA docket number 2420. Petition of the Guam Power Authority to maintain the levelized energy adjustment clause for the period of August 1, 2024 through January 31, 2025. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Mr. Hurry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So speaking of LEAC, tonight the task before you in LEAC is to set the levelized energy adjustment clause factor for the next 6-month period. That'll be from August 1st of this year through January 31st, 2025. In its petition, GPA has asked that you maintain the current LEAC factor, which is roughly 26.1995 cents per kilowatt hour for the next 6 months, that factor continued to be in effect without alteration. The Consolidated Commission on Utilities did authorize GPA to file its petition for maintaining the LEAC factor. But you will recall that in January of this year, you had increased the LEAC factor from roughly 23 cents up to the current level of over 26 cents. So the basis for GPA's motion, you really need to look back at what happened in the last LEAC proceeding. As of January 31st, 2024, the fuel expense under recovery balance was $33 million. And at that time, GPA proposed the factor of 26.1995, recognizing that that was only a 50% recovery of the outstanding balance. At that time, GPA had estimated that the total under recovery as of July 31st of this year would be 18.5 million. And actually, it turns out they were pretty close in the prediction. I believe the current estimate for July 31st is a $20 million under recovery amount. The GPA believes that by maintaining the current LEAC rate, that this will substantially reduce the under recovery balance over the next 6-month period. In this matter, when it was assigned to me, I did request the assistance of the Marianas Consulting Group, who helped us last time also with LEAC, and MCG did file its report on July 18th, so that's been provided to you for your review. If GPA maintains the current LEAC factor of 26.1995 per kilowatt hour for the next 6 months, it will substantially reduce the under recovery balance. When GPA first filed its petition, it actually thought there was going to be an over recovery during the 6-month period of about $2.2 million. But after further refinement and I think a review of MCG, the GPA determined that there will still be an under recovery balance as of January 31st, 2025. And that amount would be roughly 5.5 million. I should also note that MCG thought it would be a little less at 4.65 million. So the advantage then, if you leave the recovery factor as is, there will be a substantial reduction in the under recovery. And that will be, the recovery over the next 6 months would be about 14.5 million. So that's a pretty substantial recovery. That's the first justification. The second is that fuel expenses have actually gone down a little bit, not a lot, but that would be a reason for not increasing the LEAC factor, because it now seems that the total prices, and if you compare the last period, that or the current period that we're in until the end of July, the average price of fuel, and that includes both RFO, ultra-low sulfur fuel, and diesel, the total fuel price per barrel was $116.99. And it's estimated now that for the next 6 month period, the price per barrel, average price, will be $116.11. So, you know, it's about an 88 cent per barrel reduction in price. Not huge, but it does mean that there's less under recovery to recover. So that's a positive factor, and also one that speaks in favor of maintaining the current LEAC factor. Now, GPA has, over the years, by the way, and the commissioners are very aware of this, often agreed to take less than full recovery of the fuel expense under recovery balance. Even in the last LEAC case, as I mentioned, 50% was what would be recovered. And GPA had felt that it was better to take a 50% recovery and not burden the ratepayers with a LEAC increase and higher fuel costs. So I think in this case, that's probably the reason why you don't really need to consider raising the LEAC at the present time, even though there will be an under recovery of either 5.5 million, between 4.8 and 5.5. That's something that GPA can bear and will be able to recover in future LEAC proceedings. So I spoke to the consultants, and I wanted them to look at what would happen if there was a full recovery of the under recovery balance now. And they gave an estimate on that. They indicated that the commission would raise the LEAC factor up to 26.9561, going towards, you know, almost another cent per kilowatt hour. But the consultant felt, MCG, as I do, that it's not necessary to recover that entire amount now, that can be done in the future, and that maintaining the current LEAC rate will, again, substantially reduce the fuel expense. So MCG has also recommended maintaining the LEAC factor at the current rate. I support that recommendation, and the order prepared for your signature will implement that recommendation.
Thank you, Brad. GPA, any comments?
No comments, I concur with Brad.
Okay, thank you, John. Any comments from Doris? Go ahead.
So with all the things, even though the incentive for Ukudu is as of September 30th, when will we see all of the efficiencies come about so that we can lower the LEAC?
I believe the Ukudu will be completed September next year, 2025, September 30th, 2025. That's when the Ukudu plant will be online. So we'll be doing testing since starting February of next year. So we'll be seeing some adjustments in the field.
course, it'll probably be the August 2025 LEAC, which is 2 LEACs away from now.
Right.
That's when we'll probably be able to adjust the LEAC down a bit.
This is January 2025, will be.
Yeah. There's another LEAC period beyond this one we're ruling on tonight.
Got one question though for GPA on, do you anticipate any further subsidy by the government as the $100 credits roll out for the next 6 months to January 2025?
That's really based on the general funds, what they call it, any surplus they have at this time.
Was this lease money or wasn't this all part of the pandemic money?
Oh, no, this money was purely from general fund, so they had a surplus.
Okay, surplus, okay, yeah. Some of it was from the thought, or,
I believe there is funding that Guam Energy Office and maybe another agency had to help with those low income, it's public health, I believe, that had grant funding. So it's to help with those low incomes that aren't able to pay their bills. There's a funding allowance for them. I don't know what the total amount is, but I think we were up to.
Sorry, now you have all of us here. It's okay, I'm fine back there. So the ERA and the HAF, that's the emergency rental assistance, I'm good generally. And the housing that's for mortgage, that came from pandemic money. And the LEAP, it's the low income home energy assistance program. That was originally a block grant that Guam was getting. It just wasn't getting, it wasn't going to the Guam Energy Office. It was historically combined and going to public health. And so I believe it was efforts from last year and this year culminated, and public health was allowed to release that money, and that money, LIHEAP, LIHEAP, is now going to the Guam Energy Office. Guam Energy Office works with GPA for this round. It's not a lot of money per year. It's about $1 million per year. $1 million is a lot of money. But when you think that for the energy credit, the ratepayers are getting about $5 million a month. So yeah, so that the LEAP is really for a targeted population segment. So they do have the customers that can avail of that program have to meet pretty strict financial.
So for the current one, it's $5 million a month. That one's
no,
ended?
that's the energy credit.
Has that ended?
It is not. It actually was extended, and so if you opened your bill,
Right, you did that.
yeah, you saw that you had, I believe, 3 $100 energy credits, so that's back. And we do believe that the DOA is transmitting the July credit, and that July energy credit, $100 energy credit, will be probably applied to all accounts, if not tomorrow, then on Monday, as soon as we get that money.
The last one will be in August.
I believe it's 6 months. Is it 5 months, 5 or 6 months?
August, September?
Yeah.
Around there.
Sometime around there. And John's right, all of that money for the one, it's a program in Azuda.
You sure it's not gonna run all the way through November?
You know, we've been really surprised and grateful for our ratepayers that we've been able to get this money and apply it to their account. So whatever helps ratepayers.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, not touching the LEAC, I was just wondering about because once that goes away, then it becomes, it's a rate shock again. And it has nothing to do with the rates, that's just their bill to begin with. They're just gonna all of a sudden have this additional expense. So, from the ratepayer standpoint.
Right, we're still pushing a lot of energy efficiency. John C. and his team recently, we just unveiled the Energy X. So that's a home auditing tool you can do online. So it's, it's really great. We keep pushing efficiency. The rebates remain ever popular to try to, get some money on that. And John's working on, expanding that program per PUC order.
Right. There was, this is just off topic, but this last conference I was at, there's money out there for, I don't know if it's GPA's, takes the lead on this, but some places are getting 25 electric school buses, right? So, and then it's all part of the, it's like a storm resilience kind of thing. So those school buses are only used during the day, the morning and the day, midday. After that, they're fully charged. So they're basically mobile generators that can move up somewhere and then replug it to another place to provide power in case of storms and stuff. But there's money out there for that. I'm just wondering if that's something that GPA is looks at.
Yes, so as part of the large federal IIJA and IRA grant opportunities, John Cruz and his team have been very, very aggressive in applying. He's been working with all of the national labs, I think pretty much all of them, if not the majority of them, and really taking the lead in applying for these. In addition to that, we have our engineering manager and his team also have applied for not only FEMA reimbursement for Typhoon Mawar, but also for some program and hazardous mitigation grants under FEMA, and that's going to help us with resiliency. Right. And then, as you already know, John B. and the team have been going out and talking to DOD, FEMA, all the big feds, and we've been talking about how to be more resilient, and that's our $7 billion plan.
To bring everything underground.
Right, as well as batteries, as well as, so it hits everything. It hits reliability and efficiency and resiliency overall.
Right.
And readiness.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, JC.
Anything else from the commission regarding LEAP? If not, is there a motion?
Motion to approve GPA docket 242006.
Thank you, Pete. Joe seconds. All in favor, say aye. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, GPA. Have a good evening. Next item is GWA Water Loss Control Program. We have a status report. This is for informational purposes only. Any comments on this, Fred?
Not much. It's kind of interesting. The GWA has, I think, really tried hard to get the district metering program going. Yep. And it has been proceeding along for a couple of years now. But unfortunately, they seem to be finding that it's not really preventing water loss, because when they fix water pipes in one location, then leaks pop up elsewhere. So it won't necessarily, that program will not necessarily reduce water loss. That's what I'm getting from the
entire
report.
districts need to be replaced.
But, well, no, they will keep those, but in the water rate case that is now pending, a large amount of money would go to replacing all the pipes.
Right.
And they really think that's what's necessary now, that we've just really got to get into digging all the existing pipes up and replacing them.
Right. Thank you, Fred. Next item, administrative matters, request for an increase of the host community program surcharge. We got a letter from the mayor of Ordot, Chalon Paco, Fred?
Yes. So you'll remember a few years back, the mayors, Mayor Gogwe, and at that time, Mayor Lujan, who passed away in Iran. And they were requesting various increases to the fee for the host community program. And of course, what that does right now in your trash bill, you pay about, I think it's something like 33 cents on your bill to fund $150,000 per year for both Inarajan and Chalon Pago. And a couple of years back, they had made a motion to increase those amounts based on inflation rates. And I think there was a 2 or 3 hour proceeding on that. And what the commission had decided to do at that time was to defer acting on that. And I think it was also considering the possibility of waiting for a Guam Solid Waste Authority rate case to determine whether that would be increased. But anyway, Mayor Gobwe is now back again. He wants the commission to act on it. And he's proposed, I believe the total amount is somewhere around, would become 460,000. And of course, what he does, he takes cost of living data and determines those going back to when this bill was first passed, which I think was around 2010 or 11. But so that's kind of the total amount I think they're looking for both villages. The other thing that had happened when I had examined their request last time, I was really concerned about a lot of the expenses that the mayors had been making in the villages for Christmas gifts and, paying people for this and that. But the public auditor has reviewed that and didn't find a problem. So I guess that concern has been addressed. And the reason I wanted to put this matter on the agenda is I'd like some guidance as to how to proceed. I think, I can tell you, I'm understanding that solid waste will be filing a rate case as early as tomorrow. So it's something that could also be addressed in the context of the rate case. And in fact, the way I look at it, I mean, it's a matter that goes on the bill. So that's something that solid waste would have to do. So that's probably an issue that could be considered in that proceeding. I mean, if you wanted, we could try to consider it separately, but it's all discretionary. The law doesn't require the PUC to increase the host community rates. And one problem I think initially was the legislature picked a figure, 150,000 a year, but there was no kind of reason or why that amount. How was it determined? How was it determined that was the loss of the community? So there are questions about that. But the law does give the PUC the right to increase the amounts. And it says it can consider such factors as inflation. So I'm just asking how to proceed. Maybe I'm answering my own question. I think it would have to be done bringing solid waste into the equation too, because they're the ones that have to do the bill and make the adjustments. So, it might be, you might, I don't know, you could consider a similar, if you increase the solid waste rates, for example, you could consider similar increases for the host community.
Brad, aren't we looking at, you said that's almost like a 3X. Right? I mean, they want 450,000 now from 150.
No, total.
Yeah, total. From 150 to 100.
Right now it's 300,000.
So they're getting 150,000
each to Inarahan and Chalampago.
Oh, they get it each, 150 each.
So they want 450,000 over the span of what time, annually?
Yes,
annually.
Yes.
So we go from 33 cents to 50 cents.
And
So might go from 33 cents to 50 cents.
Yeah, I haven't actually
Is that
calculated that.
annually or combined?
And combined.
combined annually.
450 total, so they get like 225 each, 30, right?
And now they're at
450 from 300,
430.
that's 150,000 or 75,000 each, approximately, just rounded.
Well, I think they had two different methods of calculating, and one might have been more. But,
I'm just taking an average.
So they're asking for close to 25% increase each,
Right.
is what they're asking.
We're possibly.
So right now, what is it, 38 cents or 39 cents? What are we?
30, I believe it's 33, around 30.
33?
38.
38. So 38 cents, they're wanting another dime, so this would push it up close to 50 cents. That's what we're looking at. Why don't we put it into the rate case, right? we'll take a deeper dive into it at that point.
I was just gonna say, what does solid waste say about this?
Find out.
You know, I tried to contact them about it, but I haven't been able to speak with Kathy Fakita about it. I did, we did discuss it previously, and that was a couple of years back. But, I think that would, yeah, I like the idea of doing it together with the solid waste case. Although they're kind of different. Solid waste is asking for increases based on other factors, not really inflation per se. But still, it's an issue we could handle, and then we could have them as parties to the case if they want to.
Or ask them to factor in based on their own review that, or the request is reasonable.
That's better. That doesn't bill though, right, for mandatory trash pickup?
It failed, the governor vetoed it. It was a great shock to solid waste and myself.
I thought you wanted that.
Because it was the governor's bill originally.
Yeah.
Why did she veto?
In her veto message, you know, she said that, of course, there's some people that don't want it and they want to take their trash to the transfer station. That was one. And the second one was that she didn't like the customer assistance plan, or didn't think there was enough of a plan, but actually, solid waste had a much, I would say, much better developed plan even than GWA. They actually had a determined, you know, a factor they would use for low-income people. They had something in there about how it would be determined, but it apparently wasn't.
Is there gonna be an override again?
You know, it didn't pass by very much. I think it was,
They don't have 10 votes.
maybe 9-7 or, yeah.
9-6.
Trash is a community problem.
Nice.
So it should have been kind of solved all members for the community.
Well, the commission's consultant recommended that. Actually, the commission was the first entity publicly pushing the mandatory service because our consultants, MSW, had recommended.
That was, I think, quite a few years ago.
Yeah, most cities
We
do
made that
that.
recommendation. Yeah, a lot of cities. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to skip ahead to approval of hiring replacement of administrative assistant to the PUC administrator. You've probably all become aware that we're losing one of our star players here, Colleen, soon. And I think she's with us here for one more meeting.
I guess.
It's going to be a great loss for us because Colleen has just been such an excellent employee for us, and we're really going to miss, we've loved having you with us.
Come back.
You've been such a great team player.
We don't want you to feel guilty or anything.
No, don't feel guilty.
I do, though, I do.
But you want to introduce your friend here to us?
Okay, so this is Sheila Solis. Her application as well as her resume is inside the binders. Ms. Liu did go ahead and interview her. Ms. Liu, would you like to discuss that, or I'll just go ahead and do introductions? I've known Sheila for a few years now. I used to work with her. We used to work together at the law office of Attorney EQB. So our working styles are very similar. She's really reliable. In fact, I actually worked almost under her. A lot of the things that I learned, I also learned from her. And so she's really reliable, and you notice on her resume, she will do any and all tasks needed to complete whatever is assigned to her. Right?
Yes.
So this is Sheila. If you have any questions, she's open to answering.
Thank you very much, Colleen. That was a nice introduction. I believe also that Lou will be leaving us a little bit later in the year too. Fred and I are pleading with her to stay for as long as we can keep her, but so we're looking at this calendar year losing both Colleen and Lou. So it's imperative that we start bringing a couple of new employees in, so as soon as possible, start some training, because there's a bit of a uphill curve to learning this work, so I'm hoping we can agree on hiring Sheila so we can get her working with us as soon as possible and get her trained up to speed while Colleen is still here for one more month. And we also need to rapidly hire somebody else. We need to have at least 2 people here. Any comments or questions?
Is Colleen, are you able to go full-time if necessary?
Am I able
I'm
to?
sorry, Sheila.
Oh, Sheila,
Are you gonna go
full-time?
if necessary?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Or in the event that you have to take over for Lou?
I'm sorry?
In the event you need to take over for Lou
At some point.
Yes.
And are you able to work 200 hours a week, Sheila?
We've done it before.
I will say she also has good accounting background, actually more so than I do. So if that's something that you guys are considering, she's open to it.
Okay.
And Miss Liu spoke with her, so, you know.
We recommend it.
Okay. All right.
So, let me just ask this question, speaking, because I know, Lou, you've been handling the accounting when I come in and do the quarterly review. So, was
Sheila.
Sheila?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, be able to do the next quarterly review under your supervision?
Yes, I can train her, yes. I can train her so that the next review, she will be able to process the documents for us.
The question is, will we need a resolution in place, or do we take a vote now?
Let's take a vote now. Time is of the
And
essence.
then, do the resolution? Or did we do didn't we do, when we did the contract before, did we not have a resolution?
Do we need a resolution, Fred, or can
Fred,
we
is
just
it just,
hire here and hire Sheila this evening and?
Send us contract.
Yes,
Contract.
Yeah, so we don't need a resolution.
I don't think we need resolution. I'm not gonna authorize that.
What if Sheila would like to have a nice resolution to hang up at her home? Very proud of, show everyone. Just kidding. Okay, if there is a motion,
Motion to approve Sheila.
second? Second. Rowena seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Sheila.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I know you skipped over one, but I would also do
Well, I didn't skip
a
over it, I was going back to you, so
Oh.
go ahead. And I have to leave in about 5 minutes, but go ahead and give a quick financial review.
Well, our finances are good, although it's deceiving to think that as of June 30, we have 170,000, and that's primarily because we already received all of our revenue, but we haven't yet do all of our expenses. But we're on track. We're not going to have a loss like last year. I think we're probably about 20 to 25,000. We might be a little bit lower now that we have people. But then, of course, they're losing one, so it should offset. So, but more importantly is our cash. I thought we already, my goal in mind when we were laddering the TCD was to have 50,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
So we only have 150,000 right now, and more than likely, that is going to drop rates come September. So we should lock in another 50,000 before,
Okay.
The TCDs, like I said, is not no longer staggered, but kind of like one to one.
yeah, I don't know exactly how that happened, but you know, that, already. And then, you know, if we wanted, maybe stagger them once and go 3 months, like we go.
Cash is 170.
Oh, no, cash is 300. 170 is the profit, the net income for the 9 months. But our cash is in excess of, so we'll work on that and you guys can be signing this, very good.
Do you want to make a motion on that now or next meeting?
Oh,
Make a motion now so we can.
the motion would be for to authorize.
Another 50,000 for TCE.
50,000 in TCEs at the best rate.
All in favor? Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, let me assist you.
54 minutes.